Okay, folks, so here I have Rudyard Griffiths, publisher of The Hub Canada. And this video he did and posted is June 22, 2026. He has Ron Butler, principal of Butler Mortgage and host of the Angry Mortgage Broker podcast, discussing the government's controversial decision to bail out BC condo developers. I may add that it's a rather subjective and arbitrary assessment on the part of the general public to say it is a bailout of BC condo developers. They do have free choice. Now, the headline or the title of this video is Why BC Condos Bailout Could Make Home Ownership Even More Unattainable. So let's find out. Let's bring them on.
Up units that are going unsold. There's, I guess, somewhere upwards of 2,000 to 3,000 vacant units, and they'll be turning these over into rental properties to provide affordable rental opportunities to lower mainland BC folk. So what's...
Now, my understanding is, yes, there is 4,000 or 4,300 or thereabouts available, but 2,200 is the lot being purchased by the government or the deal to be created. So 2,200 is what my understanding is. Could be different, and we'll see.
What's wrong with that picture based on your understanding of the market, how it works, and something called moral hazard, I believe, maybe a fundamental principle of...
WTF. What is moral hazard? Like, is this make-believe stuff we're just making up just to set you up? Like, come on now, moral hazard. Like, there's a belief system already created. There's an inference already created. And it's really interesting how these constructs are in place before the dialogue even begins. Saying, folks.
Of capitalism?
It is indeed. So what the concept is to simply buy these unused, unsold, and in some cases unsaleable condos from developers and then offer them as what's effectively socialized housing. So these would be below market rents, which is kind of interesting when you consider that the bulk of these condominiums sell for over $1 million. I mean, that's the most interesting subsidized housing I've heard about in a while. So subsidized rental housing.
Listen, you can barely buy a small bungalow or just an average size small home for a family for under $1 million if you're lucky. So let's be realistic here.
And a key element of this is to understand there might in the future be a potential for the government to resell these, but most compelling is that that's a lot of money. Like $3 billion is a lot of money. And even if you only bought the cheapest units, they'd still probably average about $800,000 plus, which is kind of staggering. And the moral hazard issue you addressed is simple. The Prime Minister said...
Okay, before we get to the moral hazard issue, it's my understanding as well they'll be able to purchase at below construction cost. So even if you just did a clear land deal to provide construction of affordable housing and started that project today, haven't got a shovel into the ground, the materials needed to purchase for a new development would be no different from what you're paying to get an existing property ready to go. And this is a very important comparable or comparison, because if the cost of materials right now to start putting shovels in the ground and actually getting a development going, which you can't without the permits yet, if the cost of materials is as much or more than what the cost of construction was for these ready-made units, then this whole argument is a non sequitur. It's just make-believe, false, to tug at your heartstrings, to massage your ego, and if you're a conservative, you're lapping it all up because it's going to give you a feel-good moment. Now, if you're a pragmatist, you might say, well, what are the costs involved? What's the benefits? So therefore, let's look at the moral hazard. I got to back it up a bit because he prefaced it with the PM. So you're going to hear a little bit maybe over.
And the moral hazard issue you addressed is simple. The Prime Minister said, word for word, developers do not wish to take a loss. So what is private enterprise and capitalism all about at that point?
Really? You don't know what capitalism's all about? They're not willing to take a loss? No, they're willing to eat up all the profits, and they're selling at slightly below construction costs. So let's not beat this friggin' horse to death. Come on. You can give them some water.
So yeah, they minted money like robber barons, these developers on the West Coast, for 20 years.
Now, here he states an important thing. So he says the developers for 20 years, so that's 2 decades, have minted money like robber barons. So obviously, he's inferring that they've made a ton of money. Where have the free markets invested in affordable housing? And the question can be answered very simply, nowhere. And what is the issue since 1970? There's no affordable housing being built. So the free markets obviously do not regulate themselves. Capitalist, conservative governments will tell you they will regulate themselves and everything will be fine and you'll be better off for it in the end. That's what they tried to convince you during Ronald Reagan's term. Had worked well for 2 or 3 years because of the economy at the time. But then after that, what you see now is a result of these conservative ideologies. Full stop. It's indefensible. You can't argue against my point here. So let's see what else this man has to say.
Reaped the benefits of their sales and kept pushing prices upwards endlessly and made fortunes. And now when the market's turned against them because of their own bad decisions and overpricing, the government's going to come in and buy the units.
But here's another thing you have to understand. And I've been saying this for a long time now. We've gone through a period of asset inflation and not asset creation. So what he's referring to, and he's not going to admit it because I don't know if he can even see it, is this asset inflation is based a lot on speculation. Let's understand that for many, many decades, going back a minimum 3 decades plus, average people, how are they going to make an extra buck? They'd invest in a pre-new build purchase so that they could flip the property for a profit. It's speculation. It's pure speculation. So the bankers, private debtors, tried to capitalize on a speculative market. They created a speculative market because mortgage funds, it's a good investment for them because if anything goes wrong, they just seize the asset. And then eventually the market comes back up and they can resell the asset or just sell it at a loss and do a charge against somebody else and settle somebody else for debt for the rest of their lives. And this is how this system has worked. It's very brutal in a lot of ways. We'll give these guys another minute to state their purpose.
What seems particularly perverse about this, Ron, is, again, we're stalling or denying market forces. So the result is that, as you say, these units, 30, 40% at $1 million or more each, a lot per square foot, those prices will not fall as much as if there had not been a bailout. So people that could have potentially become home owners on the basis of allowing a correction to continue, allowing condo developers and investors and others to crystallize their losses, would have allowed people to become part of a property owning class in Canada, a great middle class aspiration. And instead, the condo owners get bailed out and everyone else becomes renters, not owners. They are leasing. They have not bought. They don't have a capital stake. They will not benefit from the potential for long-term capital appreciation.
Now, here you go back to long-term capital appreciation. I'm going to tell you a recent example of somebody that bought a property back in 2015. Townhouse development, just in the outskirts suburb of Toronto. And at that time, they paid maybe 300 and some odd $1,000. And they had actually a few other properties as well. And their whole purpose was to invest and make money on properties and the equity water buildup in the value of the property. And so 2 years ago, let's say 18 months ago, to be more exact, they decided they're going to redo it and sell it. Well, guess what? Even for that market, which was a 1,300 square foot unit townhouse in a townhouse development, also had condo fees to it, sat for 18 months in the market. Then they finally sold, and they sold at pretty much 2016 market rates. So everybody creates a narrative to justify their position, to justify their subjective and arbitrary assessment of what should be. Let's be frank. My name's not Frank, but let's be frank. Prior to 1980, purchasing a home was a money pit. You invested in it. You kept it till you retired. You paid off your mortgage by that time, and that was your retirement nest egg. Full stop. Created this other speculative market where all of a sudden everybody has to make themselves rich over the value and equity created in a property. Meanwhile, the equity is based on a speculative market you've created. And this is the reality. The reality with Michael J. Anyways, get out of this pain and suffering. We can redo the framework of how we live and do things that benefits everybody in a benevolent, harmonious, and abundant life. So pain and suffering is just a state of mind created by the mind, or we can move into another creation of benevolence, harmony, and abundance. Your choice. Questions, comments, throw in chat. Take care. Thanks for watching.